So the top story today was RNC Contractor left data on 198 million Americans exposed. So that caught my eye, and if you're here for some political commentary or someone conspiracy theory, no. That's not what I'm here for. I like the technical details behind the news, and the news sometimes I think makes the assumption that the American public just doesn't understand things, so they try to dumb it down, and by doing so they may not get all the facts right. So I want to know kind of exactly what happened, so I started reading on the topic, and it turns out the majority of the data was public information. But let's start at the beginning here. First, where did the data come from? So here's all the different news agencies throwing their opinion on it, but let's start at the beginning. UpGuard. Who is UpGuard? UpGuard is the company that found all the data. And how do they find it? Well, UpGuard is a company that does cloud consulting, and it helps set up your cloud processes. UpGuard helps business around the world gain visibility into your technology and how it changes. In short, what they are is when you want to set up, you can go, okay, I need all my data in the cloud, I need all this cool stuff to be done. You use these outside companies, UpGuard being one of them, to help set up and configure your Amazon cloud. All right, so now we know who they are, because you usually got to think about why someone says something before you read what they say. Think about their motives and things like that. It may sound kind of conspiracious, but I always think about that. Why would you be telling me this, or what's the angle that they have? Well, they help secure things. Clearly, this is not properly secured. So probably because they found it, having an article about how they audited and found and accidentally left open. I'm assuming accidental. Leak almost makes it sound malicious, but never attribute to malice what can easily be explained by ignorance, because, well, this stuff's still newer, and sometimes people find the cheapest contractor outsourced to cheaper and cheaper contractors to do things when it comes to technology, and you end up with accidentally leaving 200 million records on an open database. So Amazon S3 is the storage server that this was found on. They have a lot of little details in here about it. And UpGuard is a great place because they are a company that actually put the details together. They did responsible disclosure, which means, hey, we were scanning through and found this random link of data accidentally left open. We'd like to notify you. So they notified the company called Deeproot Analytics and let them know you misconfigured this. And probably maybe they had an angle going, hey, you should hire us to secure your servers. So you got to think about, it's kind of a publicity for them, but it also is data that was leaked, even though it's public data. And what kind of data was leaked? Well, this is where it gets a little bit interesting. So your voter data is public here in America, but who you voted for is not. And if polling people came around and did a questionnaire and asked questions of like, hey, do you like this or do you like that? Would you vote this way? Maybe the phone calls you got or the door-to-door polling that goes on, they had that data tied in there too. So it's not the concern that your name and voter information, as in your address and the fact that you voted, is out there. That took me no time at all to find myself. I typed in Michigan voter database, second leak on Google. They have all the downloads for 2013 all the way till 2017. You can download the entirety of the history on there, and I went and double checked. And let me pull this up real quick. It did indeed. I can just dump this. Just all the voters, all their addresses, all their information. Now that is public. You can easily find this, and majority of states have something that you can find this on. So that's not a big deal. There's a lot of state databases that have searches in it. So let me close these windows. So what makes this a little bit more scary is the fact that this ties together both voter information and opinions voter have. That's where it gets a little bit scary, is how they were tying some of this together and how they were doing this. These are some of the links that they had in here for some of the details of how they viewed people. Now, where this gets really scary is we live in a world where a lot of information becomes very easily available like this, and people looking for angles on someone else. And maybe you shared an opinion of how you feel about something that you may not have shared another. You're a business owner, you're someone who's in the public light, and you shared an opinion with these people. And now that opinion you shared with a poller who knocked on your door, who worked for in some direct or indirect way for Deeproot Analytics, or someone they gathered data from, that opinion was shared in there. Now you have a name and an opinion all tied together, and that's where it gets a little bit creepy. That's the data that's really shouldn't have been leaked. Now, the value of this data is questionable in terms of that. It's obviously very valuable during an election cycle because people feel a certain way, and they use that for targeted information to target voters. So it is a little bit scary, but the data breach really comes down to a misconfigured Amazon S3 server. So how that got misconfigured, I don't know. Clearly, there's someone in trouble, undoubtedly, because they put all this time and effort building these databases. They don't want them just left on the internet because, well, there's competing companies. Deep Group Analytics is a single company, for example, that was trusted and paid by the RNC to build all this voter information, so they understand how to target ads for voting. Now, to take a deeper look at the end result of a lot of this, I put an article together in November of 2016 that you can find. I'll throw a link here and below. And it's all about, I called it Bargain Presidency Using Psychological Profiles, Dark Posts, and Micro-Targeting to Win a Presidential Election. And it was because of some analytics I did. And it was really interesting to find out that the Trump presidency, I was downloading all the different media, the buys, the ad spends, and it was fascinating to me. I was like, hey, I wonder how much each one of the parties and each candidate specifically was spending on Facebook. So I went and downloaded the publicly available information that's you can find, and I said, they're spending a lot less. Where's that money going? And I dug into it, and it became really interesting. It was kind of funny. I published this in November. Some similar articles came out much later, kind of analyzing this. But specifically, the company that was behind it, and this is another one, this is a competitor, so to speak, of the Deep Root Analytics, was Cambridge Analytica. And this is interesting to me because they literally have a blog post and bragging on that they can help you win a presidency. So when you say, let's talk, or let's go to their main page of their website, data-driven campaign, so I've already been there, so it doesn't show up. It gives an option. Do you want to win an election, essentially? Case studies. It includes how they use data, analytics, all the stuff, and this is kind of what I wrote in my article here. So this is what the end result of a lot of this is. They literally built case studies on how they did campaigns for each of these people. Almost creepy, like, hey, give us money, we get results in elections. So your data is more valuable than ever. This company used a lot of Facebook data that they pulled in here. Undoubtedly, there was a tie-in, and we don't know every detail. There's a lot. Gizmodo did a write-up on this too about what else they may have tied together with this. Now, that's where it gets kind of scary is you take all the voter registration information, cross-reference that with Facebook information, and then start making, then go to the polling information going, oh yeah, this person seems to post on Facebook complaining about this political topic, and then we have a polling data because we contacted so-and-so or Tom Lawrence and Taylor, and he posted about this and he has this opinion, so we should target him with these type of ads so we can win him over to the view that we like. So that's where this really gets scary. So it's really not the voter information, it's the deeper tying together those personal details and maybe your Facebook post. But then again, if you're posting all your political stuff on Facebook, you don't have nothing to worry about. They probably don't have anything in here that you didn't already post. But if you're someone who operates with a group and you don't post politically and you keep it very quiet, well, this leak could lead to, if all the data was available, it doesn't really clear how much of this data was accessed, but if this data was accessed, it could be one more place where someone can find out more about you than you originally wanted to disclose because you thought the conversation was between you and the person taking the polling data or the question you answered with these polling people. And now that data has been tied together a little bit deeper, and now you know they have it. And there is a chance, because once the data was out on the internet, that it was taken and given. Now, they don't know for sure whether or not the data was leaked. The breach, so to speak, the public data, they flipped the little switch that says private back on there, and my guess is they've probably fired the people who accidentally put it to public, probably out of ineptitude. So that's my little thoughts of some of the details on it. The news is spinning it because the news needs something to talk about because we have a 24-hour news system and clicks for dollars, so they're spinning it and probably have commentators discussing it at length for the next 24 to 48 hours until the next big thing happens. If you like the content here, if you like my little deeper dives into the news, click like, subscribe, and if you have some comments or other thoughts on this, I'm still curious. I'm always curious about more technical details. This is, misconfigured Amazon S3 servers, and as we put more data in the cloud, it's probably really important that we start thinking more about security when we put this data in there. Thanks for watching.